Hello and welcome to the post game. I'm Samuel McCullough and I'm joined by DeFi Dave and Capital K. Guys, post game. What do you think of this episode? What was standing out to all of you?
Uh, I really like this episode a lot. It was new ground for Flywheel because this is the first actual trader we had on. We usually just have on builders, researchers, Frax people, but this is someone who is more, like I said on the episode, a generalist. So it was different us chunking up to have a more wider perspective looking at the space because a lot of the time we're just like so niche in stablecoin land.
Yeah. And I guess to start with Frax first, what did you think about his views on Frax?
It sounded like he didn't have too much of a thesis about stablecoins in general. Like, yeah, he recognizes their importance, but I feel like that just hasn't. It's not that he doesn't care. It's more just like that hasn't really been his focus per se. But I think he like recognizes and appreciates like Frax's longevity. And I think for like any trader, one of the most important things is staying power and like what have the trends been over time. And like if the fact that Frax has stayed around for so long, going through so much adversity and over the years and still being here, I think that says a lot. And I think he's definitely like open to learning more, but I feel like his like what he focuses more on is kind of like he said, like modularity, mobile, consumer. But I think at some point stablecoins and Frax are going to overlay that, especially like stablecoin use on mobile, maybe like a stablecoin modular chain, Frax chain. So I think there'll be some like cross pollination over time. I don't. Kiet, what do you think?
I think he's a trader like through and through, right? And these are the things
he's a trader.
That one needs to recognize.
Dude, he dreams the charts.
Yeah. Narrative leads, ignites the price, but PA can sustain the price. And unfortunately or fortunately, Frax is just not a trader coin. It's FrxETH coin. Rather. It's just not a trader coin. So it's hard for you to come in and swing in and out of it. So I think that's why he wasn't quite up to date per se. Because Z is a really thorough guy. Because you could tell by the way he actually shared it with the listeners of how he tackles like his daily routine of going deep into the forums, checking on the projects that he thinks has cool shit coming up, and just looking at the charts, making sure nothing has changed from the previous day or so. Like he's a meticulous guy. So I feel like once Frax kind of picks up in mainstream again and actually have that narrative, I think attention will just flow back.
Yeah.
What do you guys think you could take away from how he operates?
What do you think you can take away from how he operates? Yeah. Definitely his attention to detail. I think one of my favorite things he said was like, have strong conviction, but strong theses, but loosely held. And so like being open to change your thesis when new information arises, but don't just change it so fast. What else? I think probably one of the biggest takeaways is this is kind of a chance for us to look at how traders think. Because, like I said, like so many podcasts are just builders and being in the builder mindset and the missionary mindset. Well, like traders, traders are more like quote unquote mercenary. I don't mean that in the bad way. It's just traders are just like, they're in and out. They're just like looking at the pure numbers. They're looking at charts. So having
different
a trader
values.
like different values. So maybe having, more understanding and kind of maybe empathize is not the right word, but, putting yourself in like their shoes and how they think, it can kind of affect on like how we move forward, as whether it's like us as Flywheel and like content we make, or like as Frax of like, okay, like how can we make this like more attractive to traders long term? But you don't want like to make it like too attractive. You don't want to just be like, be hunted, like, and have the Alamedas of the world come after you and like pump and dump you. But like, how can you be like attractive for like, have this like long mutually beneficial relationship with traders, and you guys can like grow together long term.
Yeah. I think another bit is like second order dynamic thinking. Because, initially when I thought to myself like, oh, wow, if the Fed came out and gave 0 interest rates, then we gig along. But then, and Ansem made me think about it. He was like, well, if they come out with 0, like, shit, are things that bad that they can't even raise 25 bips, and that they really need to backtrack everything? Like, what don't we know?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, wow, I didn't really think about that, right? Because I was just trying to conform to my bias that I want to be long and I want the bull to go. But
Don't
his
conform
point
to your
brought that up.
bias.
And then the
Yeah.
second bit is that he said about leverage is if you were to do the work early and do the research, go into the forums and read all of that, you don't need to leverage to get the result because you are early. So that's like another second order effect, right? Like you don't have to size really big or they take on leverage rather just to get your return because, well, no, you paid it ahead, So yeah, those are the things I took away.
Also, I really liked how he said journal everything, like journal like what you think before trades, during trades, after trades. Because when you go back and reflect and see how you thought, you can better pinpoint where you went wrong and better fix those mistakes.
Yeah, I would disagree a little bit about the leverage. I think like a healthy amount is okay. Just like as long as you're not going over. And again, it depends on your time frame as well, too, right? Like if you're looking for like $50 on Bitcoin, right, in your price movement, right, you want leverage. You want to have maybe like 10 or 20x leverage.
A little leverage.
A little leverage.
Just
but if you're trying to buy, I don't know, like Frax shares now, right, with the goal of it going to like 200 or something, like maybe you don't need leverage. There's enough return there that it's just going to provide a lot on its own. So yeah, I think it's more just like understanding again, we talked about this with the guys from FrxETH last week, where like a lot of the LPing is just trading as well too. So like understanding timeframes and knowing like, am I going to be in this for a minute, right, or am I going to be this in for like a year or 10 years? Like I think it makes a difference then in how much leverage you can take, because maybe that 10-year bet you don't need to have leverage, but like the 10-second bet you want to have a good amount of leverage on.
But Sam, you see how you have this like nuanced take to it, and I think that's Z's point. It's like you need to be nuanced when you take into a position, and I think his exact words were don't like over leverage. So like I personally use leverage when I feel leveraging, just like anything else, is a tool, right? And you use the tool to help you get to where you need to go. So that's my take on it too.
What did you think about his assessment on risk?
So I like that he started from the portfolio front, right? And then he started kind of going down the stack, in my opinion. And starting on the portfolio, again, he went down to, first thing he mentioned was drawdowns. So he assessed things via volatility and drawdowns. And then the second bit was like duration, like the risk profile of the person. And then the third bit was more, DeFi specific, is like smart contract risk. And what I felt was interesting on the smart contract risk is I didn't really recognize it until now, but like normally when we think of smart contract risk, we think of, hey, we put our money into this protocol and this protocol, something happened to it, an exploit. But smart contract risk also exists if you just simply held the Euler tokens, right? We're not picking on Euler. I'm just using that as an example. If you held onto the Euler tokens,
the Euler contracts.
Yeah. I mean, just holding onto the Euler token and not even using the protocol, you're also susceptible to smart contract risk because the prices were like this. You know what I mean? So like I didn't really piece those two together. And I was like, oh yeah, smart contract risk actually applies to both PA, but also your actual the venue in which the product risk as well too. So so that was interesting to me.
Yeah, I liked what he said about lifestyle risk because I think that's often overlooked. It's so easy to get wrapped up in what's going on chain and what's going on in crypto. It literally just sucks you in, and then it's easy to forget about what else is going on in life. And if you're not having a good time, it just can really eat you alive. And so, being able to balance out things and stay calm, stay balanced, stay stoic, it's something you learn over time.
I think it's kind of like you have to flip the cycle, right? Because during the bull cycle, you typically get wrapped in, right? Like, oh my God, like I'm up. Like I'm just I'm stare at everything all day, every day. And then like you hit the peak and then you start to give back more and more and more. And then you're like, oh my God. And when you hit the bottom, that's when you typically disconnect, right? But it should be the other way around where like, at the bottom, you're like fully in and you're trying to allocate in that period. And then like towards the top, you're like, oh man, like I've got this. Let me just like do less and not look at the charts and go enjoy my life. Right. And so if you like flip the script, you know, I think you could be much happier and ultimately, and, you know, just being able to disconnect when in the middle of the bull, right. Which is the hardest thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Yeah. That's great. Guys, did you want to wrap through anything else?
This is a fun episode. You know, I always love hearing different perspectives and, you know, people with different backgrounds, and, you know, there's all different kinds of players in the space. So like I said earlier, you know, it was fun having, you know, a trader on, and I'm sure we'll have more traders on in the future. And, you know, it'll be interesting to hear about their frameworks as well.
Okay.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Hey, this is our first trader, so but
Yeah.
I definitely want to hear the audience's opinion if they want to hear
Yeah.
from more traders.
Let us know in the comments.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
And don't forget to give us a like, subscribe. I'll close this out right now. Subscribe to our Substack, flywheeloutput.com, to get all the alpha and then some. Follow us on Twitter at FlywheelDeFi. Join the conversation at FlywheelDeFi. You can follow me on Twitter at DeFi Dave22.
You can follow me at 0x_K.
And I'm at traders_insight.
And we'll see you next week.
Peace.
Everything said on this episode is not financial or tax advice. This channel is strictly for educational purposes and is not an investment advice or solicitation to buy or sell any assets or to make any financial decisions. This video is not tax advice whatsoever. Please talk to your accountant and do your own research.